μέσα στο πλαίσιο του Διεθνούς Επιστημονικού.
In the framework of this international conference on transhumanism and artificial intelligence, we will present two new books issued by the monastery of San Vatopedi. The book by Jean-Claude Larchet called Confronting Gender Theory, and the book of the assistant professor at the University of Balamand, Bassam Nassif, entitled The Mystery of Marriage Amid Deconstruction. The two books are part of the series we have issued at the Holy and Great Monastery of Vatopedi. These editions show us the interest and the care shown by the abbot of the Holy and Great Monastery of Vatopedi, Father Ephraim, and his and the other fathers, not only through conferences but also with books about issues of concern for the modern society and people. Through those inspired editions, they will try, and publications, they will try to enlighten the faithful about serious issues that the Church has to deal with and make proposals about. That's why we would like to thank him. Dr. Jean-Claude Larchet is one of the most important theologians and authors in the Orthodox petrology, and he has a doctorate degree from the University of Nancy and theology from the University of Strasbourg. He taught philosophy for 35 years. He has written 35 books and numerous articles. His books were translated in 18 languages. His first book, Confronting Gender Theory, will be presented by Christos Arabatzis, professor at the Aristotle University of Thessaloniki. Mr. Arabatzis, you have the floor. Thank you, Chair. Your Eminences, Abbot, Fathers, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to thank the organizers of the conference for the honor to present the book of Jean-Claude Larchet. I would like to make some general clarifications at the start, which are based on what we will read in this book. First of all, Mr. Larchet, who is next to me, has divided his book into two parts. The first one is about the substance of the theory of gender, and the second is about the Christian aspect of gender. The first part that has to do with the theory of gender says that this issue is one of the biggest issues of our times. The discussions and philosophical discussions, because of the social repercussions, have attempted changes both in the mentality of people but also in the institutions, educational ones, legal ones, even medical ones. Throughout human history, all civilizations and societies considered that in human beings we have two genders, female and male, and these are founded on the biological sex, female and male. In this way, we see that these two are interconnected, naturally interconnected. The modern theory says that there is no natural or substantial relation between them. This theory about gender started in the 50s and 60s. The first views that distinguished the gender from sex came from psychologists such as John Money, who actually studied cases of people with unclear biological characteristics. He invented this term gender in order to describe and his experience with the identity of these people beyond their biological characteristics, because he saw things in those people that were rare but also pathologically describable. Later on, Judith Butler developed a theory focusing on the fact that gender is a performance, a social act that is repeated and shapes the consciousness and identity of people. This idea influenced feminist theories and led to the questioning of traditional perceptions about the roles of the two sexes. Feminism used this theory to promote inequalities created by social expectations. Even motherhood was considered a con, a problem of the female sex. So the theory of gender supports that our gender is not defined exclusively by biology. This distinction between gender and biology has been considered by the proponents of the theory as a liberation, because it offers people the possibility to self-determine the quality and characteristics of their nature. And the way it is actually expressed. The proponents of this view believe that gender is the product of a conscious choice. Whatever comes from nature, from the unconscious, from the relationships within a society is dismissed. So the issue of gender has to do with desire, will, preference, even fantasy. The choice of gender happens regardless of the biological sex and the characteristics of the physiology connected with this. So it's not a matter of nature, it's a matter of personal choice. It's not a matter of biological and physiological structure and appearance. It's the way we see and represent ourselves. What is important is the gender that you attribute to yourself or negate to yourself according to your personal consciousness. This plan is accompanied with the deconstruction of the social archetypes of male and female through political and social activism, with social reforms by abolishing sexual identity and allowing the use of attributes as alternates. So we have a rupture, the stereotypes and freedom is sought for people to define their own identity. So after this introduction, let us focus on the book. Jean-Claude Larchet is a well-acclaimed scientist who was distinguished for his strict methodology and his research in Christian tradition and the updating of the Orthodox patristic teaching. His new book comes back to an issue that has been widely discussed in social scientists and more recently, the last decade, in research programs and congresses in the science of theology. So I didn't mention the term church, I mentioned the science of theology. In our Orthodox tradition, it is about every type, every object of the science that has to do with life within the church. the historical present. Already in the introduction, the author makes reference to the trends that dominated Western societies already in the 50s. These were the causes that generated what we call the theory of gender and its derivatives. In a very rightful way, he shows the representative trends and draws the conclusion that these trends managed to develop in a world that has lost its points of reference in areas such as morals and has morality and is oriented on a new perception about freedom, which is atomocentric and Promethean. This is an illusion. And the goal of those trends is to represent small minorities in the big Western societies, a new anthropological model, a new morality, which will lead us to a new world, foreign to the ankyloses, as they are called, that Christianity created with its own anthropological perceptions, which are based on the distinction between men and women in humans. So this theory of gender has taken big dimensions and was included in several stages of the educational system to shape already from a young age the spirit and mentality of young people. This is more prominent in Anglo-Saxon countries, in English-speaking countries, and this is a prerequisite for the teachers in order for them to get a position and keep it. So this theory has taken up a lot of strength and is shaping the mentality of a large number of citizens whose ideas and education and morals do not agree with it. So it's the mainstream. It's the politically correct. Everybody has to believe that. It's imposed on everybody. Many social and political factors, according to the author, allow us to understand why this theory has become so gigantic. We have the abolition of boundaries and of moral principles and values has actually allowed us to have an interaction in all areas of our existence. There are some institutions that favor minorities. There is a positive distinction. People are favored against others who are the majority. They are given advantages and we thus create new inequalities, new types of distinctions. Which are also covered from a legal point of view. There are new terms such as homophobia, transphobia, discrimination, racism. These are used in an abusive way in order to muzzle any type of criticism. It's a way to subdue this systematic victimization of minorities. There is an exaggeration. The proponents of this theory are very active, and they look like sects that try to convert people. They act in a way that and they pretend that they will make us factors of action. So they are both theoretical activists and real activists of this new theory of gender, and they try to create a new world for man, which is founded on new representations, a new relationship with the real nature and ourselves. rationality which is emancipated from every standard, every reference to any type of order of things. A society where every individual with his will be a god, determining oneself through the negation of reality. However, this theory is not acceptable by everybody. Many people have blamed it. They say it causes confusion. It takes people away from their natural existence. At the same time, it alienates us from our cultural and social environment. This deconstruction of traditional roles of sexes has come against serious reactions. The idea that sex and gender are liquid and change and can change according to the wishes of a person leads to an identity crisis, according to those who are against this theory. Jean-Claude Larchet, through his critical approach, promotes, shows, and reveals the weaknesses of this theory. It says that he says that the concept of gender cannot be defined in social and cultural terms alone, because it's a multidimensional reality which is related to the creation of man, and it is a biological development that is perceived as an intervention by God into natural reality. Now let's talk about the Christian perspective about gender. Here we are surprised by the knowledge and the systematic approach. In Christian tradition, gender is a fundamental part of human existence and identity. God created man in his image and likeness. We have this distinction between a man and woman, and this is a reflection of harmony and divine providence. So, gender is something that was defined by God, an attribute that reveals the sanctity of His creation and its historical course. Christian tradition has taught us that gender is not an obstacle but a tool for salvation. Men and women are called to cooperate in harmony, using their virtues in their Christian life. This cooperation is not only social but also spiritual. It reflects their unity with God and His creation. This theological approach refutes the idea of the liquidity of gender. It supports that the gender is defined through a divine plan for the salvation of man and is connected with his spiritual course. This unity between body and soul is the culmination of Christian anthropology. The discussion about gender is a discussion that is recognized as a divine gift. Larchet says that gender, as God created it, is not an obstacle but a source of spiritual salvation. The distinction between males and females is not a conflict, it's complementary. People have a relationship with one another. Somebody from a different sex. God did not create another Adam, but a woman, a being that is complementary in order for the man to exceed himself, transcend himself, and avoid narcissism. Orthodox tradition has dealt with the nature of man always in two ways: in the in what happened before the fall and after the fall. The fallen nature of man led to passions that are a use of forces which are contradictory to their initial goal. So the protoplasts were expelled from paradise, and this was a rapture that was inherited by their descendants. God, who was incarnated, actually restored this fullness. Adam failed to unify through theory all the polarities that existed in creation right from the start, and Christ had to undertake this work. The transcendence of sexuality through the exercise of virtues does not lead to the abolition of sexes, but their liberation from all kinds of divisions and conflicts. The two sexes continue to be an ontological element of human nature. However, all of those elements that are a source of conflict and division are taken away. The coexistence of the two genders in Christ is not a way to exclude ourselves or separate ourselves and divide ourselves or have a conflict between each other. It's to help each other, to be complementary. It's a dynamic process, and the foundation of this process is love, in the sense given to it by Christianity. It's not a feeling, it's a spiritual situation. Uh, in conjugal life, we have the mystery of love. It is expressed there as a natural consequence. Love for every human being, for thy neighbor. So marriage is the laboratory of love. It's Christ that unifies the two in one body, who cultivates love among the two, among the husband and the wife, and this is a mystery for the life of humans. It's the mystery of love. It's the mystery of Christ. So Jean-Claude Larchet has approached gender through the perspective of Christian anthropology on the basis of the tradition of Christian fathers. He calls upon us to rethink about gender identity and its role in human life. So for him, gender is not only a social construct, it's a spiritual and biological reality with a prophetic destination. So his book is a useful tool for those who want to understand the issue more deeply. I will only add two things about this excellent book. I recommend you to read it. The whole world is a creation of the will and love of God. In this world, we have the reflection and the revelation of the rationality of God in the mystery of love, which embraces the whole creation. The culmination of this love and reflection of its rationality is man, who was created and came into existence having these two characteristics innate in him. What are these? Love and rationality. Love is also expressed through the creation of woman. From the ribs of Adam, without any other intervention of will or consciousness. The creation of the first couple is full of symbolism when we hear the narration of the Genesis. It is an initiative and expression of divine love. The two human existences are complementary to each other, and they want to keep in this human existence the love and rationality that God wanted to express. It's their destination to become united in one body. Love as a power that creates this unity between a man and a woman was felt right from the first couple, which derived from God Himself. So God did not only create existence, but He created coexistence as well. And He gave the man and the woman different characteristics in order for them to be complete through coexistence. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Arabatzis, for this full presentation. We apologize for not giving him enough time, but we had to be brief. So we will avoid other comments and we will only have a general comment at the end, and we will right away go to the second book entitled The Mystery of Marriage Amid Deconstruction. The author of the second book, Protopresbyter Bassam Nassif, he is in the Orthodox Archbishop of Lebanon, and he has a doctorate degree in theology. His research has to do with modern pastoral challenges for the Orthodox Christian Orthodox Church, and he speaks about pastoral theology and anthropology, how we can have a cure through pastoral care without, apart from that, he has also taught in the Balamand University. We will ask the assistant professor, the dean of the School of Theology of the Aristotle University of Thessaloniki, Athanasios Gikas, to present the book.
Thank you very much. I understand the fatigue and the tiredness of all of us, because this is the time of the conference's closure. I wouldn't like to abuse your patience. I believe that within 15 to 20 minutes, in fact, we cannot approach the heart or the analysis of this endeavor, which is labor, indeed, labor on the part of the author, a very fruitful labor, because indeed the book was written with exactitude, with a scientific approach. Attention was paid to everything written in this book, and this is something that renders it very important. So I would like to say that it is very important. This book is important for our conference because as we realized, examining this topic about human, transhuman, and posthuman, we must unravel the path that was there. We need to place ourselves somewhere between technology and man, so as to start building and not rebuilding, as the father wrote quite notably. He encourages us in his book to examine the topic of family and marriage. This is the beginning of one's formation of beliefs. The philosophical discussions and the progress of technology start from that point onwards. And perhaps the proposal whereby we should place great emphasis to this belief and the teaching is important, because it regards the beginning of human life. And we see that up until today, this is what actually works in societies. People who gained belief in God are people who are sociable, and have a positive trajectory in the course of history. All those people who distanced themselves from God, either because nobody talked to them about it, or because they failed to fathom certain things, and their egocentricity and individualism has led them to negative actions, we all see that they are treading towards something that is not good, that is bad. If you think about it, God created everything well. to be good. So it is important to stress the value of scientific progress, but it is also equally as important to accentuate the contribution of those handling this value. And of course, there is value beneath the value of technology. The book is 400 pages long. At the preface, the father asks questions and expresses opinions regarding the topic of family and marriage, in effect. He examines the issue in terms of history and sociology, and there he presents all the different currents that, after the Age of Reason, led us to modernity, which, as it has been stated, tried to speak about the death of God in the structure of society through the protection of human superiority, claiming that the paramount value is that of man and not God. Fortunately, this was not endorsed universally, but it has really troubled man throughout the course of history, even today, in this day and age, through the phenomenon of modernity and late modernity, which, approaching or studying issues that did not please modernity, and it has been trying to correct them, but it lacks the background, and it has not really decided what it is that it wants, so that it can move to a way of thinking that is centered on God and not man. As I said before, in the first chapter, there are questions asked, encouraging us to see what it is that marriage represents in society. Is it something that forms part of church life? Is it something that follows ideas which, instead of solving problems, actually create more problems? And then there's the question, marriage as a social experience, because marriage truly highlights a person. Marriage is a relation. It is not a legal procedure which may be related to individual rights alone. It is based on the very essence of relation. Man and woman, male and female, entering into marriage are covered by a legislation which really fails to understand precisely what marriage is, or with kenosis of one to the other, it may lead to what it takes for transfiguration in the marriage. Marriage was enacted on the premise that the woman was created in order to assist man restore what was broken after the original sin. And the opportunity was given for man and woman to overcome the failings of the relation between the material man and the divine God. People could understand the notion of kenosis vis-à-vis something similar to them, and not in conjunction with a transcending God, which would not be easy to fathom without sacrificing oneself for the other. The success of the prospect of marriage is the point at which a person does not love oneself more than the person they say they love. That is, when two people enter into marriage, they should not, of course, hate themselves in the sense that they will change the human nature with a hatred, but to love more and to channel and direct their love to the person they have chosen to love. This forms part of the church life, and this notion is elaborated on in a very thorough way, showing how it is that in a Christian marriage we can have the success of man, that the success of a person who can find solutions in a mechanical way of life that can be served by science in conjunction with virtue. Father Bassam made a literature review regarding Christian marriage and examined different aspects of Christian life and the concept of marriage in different confessions. And he's telling us that the Western Church approach is based on this value, the uppermost value of man, who can express their rights and demands, acting in an individual or individualistic manner within a marriage. And then personality is referred to. And we can see how it is that personality with one's free will meet the purpose of marriage, because living one's personality within marriage, one can see and can discover the church at home. If two people enter into marriage and they fail to see that their marriage is a home and a church, then there is no path towards the kenosis through the experience that one has feeling and living church, not only as a liturgical model, approaching things superficially, as the author writes. Even a Christian marriage today is a marriage without taste, without flavor, without substance. Why that? Why is that? Because we don't have the cultivation of the Christian morality and spirit, which regards the commandments of God. In marriage, there is no power. There is no such thing as superiority and inferiority. Within marriage, within the Orthodox marriage, the couple work and complement one another in their work. And, of course, they teach this way of life to the fruits of the marriage, that is, their offspring. What is important through spiritual activity today for us to face marriage in view of modern reality is the cultivation of the concept and the notion of the church at home, not to overly accentuate obligations, but to infuse the experience of church as a transformative power according to the application of what is said in the Gospel. There is no distinction between monastics and lay persons in this world as something which is a different objective to reach. The ascetic tradition of the Church gives man the virtues. If man does not follow the model of practice, and sanctification, which needs to be part of everyday life in a wedding. It is not something easy, and we wouldn't like to make it appear as such. So we shouldn't talk about marriage as a utopia of a life without martyrdom, because it is martyrdom that will lead a person to a harmonious function of the family and to the sharing of a paradigm or an example of how life will follow. What they need to feel, the couple that is that marriage is a mystery, and human beings are a mystery, and this mystery becomes revealed when the image moves towards the likeness. If the image is blurred by sin, then the course of things is not good. So, marriage is a mystery that has as its elements the martyrdom, love. What love? Sacrificial love, which is presented in the lives of martyrs and the saints of the Church. It has as an element the light that the couple need to convey to the fruit of the union, that is their offspring, and this needs to create a continuity similar to that of the ascetic tradition. No one or no man can walk alone. A basic element which is emphasized particularly and is a practical piece of advice, in fact, regards the grace of God through the sacraments, that is, the wedding, the Holy Eucharist, and all the other sacraments that are part of a person's daily life. Repentance, how is it expressed? It is expressed in the communication with the person that guides us. Who is the person that guides us? Our Father Confessor. And the Father Confessor should be the person who will transmit light. Parents will receive this light and give it to their children. However, this intervention, if we may say so, or this guidance should be entrusted to Father Confessors who have the light of Christ and a direct understanding of daily problems. Nothing will be imposed upon those seeking advice. It will be in the form of teaching, catechesis, and inspiration for a person to decide to fight personally and struggle in their lives for this transfiguration. Marriage is not safeguarded either by the letter of the rules of the Church or by legal certainties. It is safeguarded and protected by the grace of God and the will of people. There is also an appendix to this book, or rather there's part of this book touching upon the issue of homosexuality, legalization of the unity of homosexuals, an Orthodox Christian pastoral prospect. We do not have time to delve into this chapter more profoundly. I would say that it is very aptly expressed, and it reads that, or it says that the course of the lives of people is a matter of choice, first and foremost. It is a matter of personal will, and with the love of God, it can be restored always in the sense of transfiguration and not in the sense of imposition. Please allow me to read a paragraph from the preface of the book, which I believe is an encouragement to all of us, and to me, first and foremost. I should be presenting more details from the book, but I believe that this will make you want to read it and read it again, especially if you're worried about the course of this world, not examining marriage so substantially. In this book, what is endeavored is a deeper understanding of the concept of marriage and family, analyzing the ways in which this institution has been decomposed in modern, has been deconstructed in modern societies. And there are proposals for strengthening and invigoration. We do hope and trust that through these pages, the readers and all of us indiscriminately will have food for thought and find our way back to the renewal of this institution. However, this will come true only if we turn to the Orthodox tradition, the fathers of the Church, and sacramental life. This is the exhortation of Geron Ephraim, who has written the preface to this book. It is also our wish and thought to follow this and to thank both Geron for this very beautiful book of the monastery and the author, Father Bassam, for all the work that he has done. And I think that the work will bear fruit. Thank you very much. Thank you, Father Athanasios, for your eloquent contribution attributable to the fact that you have read the book indeed, but it is also something related to your pastoral experience serving in his parish. Let us say in conclusion that at a time whereby traditional values and the Orthodox morality are questioned constantly, both books aim at reminding us that man is a creation of God and tends towards sanctification and deification by grace. What the criterion should be is not what we think is the right thing to do, but what God wants from us, because the will of God is our sanctification.